Hey, good Tuesday, everybody. Great to see you. Got a lot to talk about today with multiple storm systems on the way that are going to bring impactful weather, including severe weather and winter weather. Then we're going to take a sneak peek towards February and kind of give you an early heads up on what I think the month could look like as we continue to round out January and start looking ahead here towards flipping that calendar into the new month. And I'll go ahead and give you a little bit of a spoiler alert. I think February will be active, but where it will be active is kind of the tough part that we're going to need to figure out here as we kind of battle some model swings, and we'll take a look at that in today's video. Now, if you're new to the channel, welcome. My name's Gerald. I'm a meteorology major at the University of North Carolina, Charlotte, and if you haven't already, go ahead and like the video, subscribe, and hit that bell for the latest notifications. It's a great way to stay up to date as we continue to track this active weather and prepare for whatever may be ahead in February, and we may get a big storm. We will see. It's going to be something that's very interesting to find out. And I'm as excited as you are to kind of get there and see what's in store. Alrighty, also go ahead, comment, let me know where you're watching from, and let's dive on into the data. Now, starting off with our upper level water vapor loop today, doing a good job at showing the two main features on the map currently that are bringing active weather. Area number one, back out near Southern California, we've got this cutoff low that kind of broke off from Canada a couple days ago. We've been talking about this guy for a while now and continues to kind of just meander over portions of California there, but the kind of early impacts of it are already being seen on satellite. What's happening is this is creating a lot of flow out of the Pacific here and kind of opening up the gates, if you will, for moisture to be pumped to the east towards areas of Texas, New Mexico, Oklahoma, even down towards Arkansas and Louisiana. That combined with eventually some moisture out of the Gulf, we're going to have a very rainy couple days down here, including the threat for severe weather that we're going to need to break down. Now, that's not the only active area on the map here. Another little area that might not have jumped out quite as quickly, but look at this trough working on through the northeast. This brought pretty vigorous snow squalls overnight to some folks and is continuing to bring some of that snowy weather into the region today. And definitely let me know if you're watching up there, how much snow you picked up, what the visibility was like, and all of those fun things, and kind of the temperature drop and just any kind of meteorological info you have out of it. Would love to hear those reports, but definitely a feisty kind of band of snow worked on through and is still working on through depending on where you're watching through, but kind of losing steam now as it pushes towards the I-95 corridor. So an active look on current satellite, and that's translating to the ground pretty well here as well. Let's go ahead and look right at it. And there's another area right behind it you'll see too that we'll talk about on radar here in just a moment. But look at these snow squalls, still pretty strong here into Maine and New Hampshire this morning, from the Franklin area up towards Paris, Maine, Jay, and eventually going to work through the Augusta area and probably try to make it to the coast near Portland, and then maybe as far south as Dover, Manchester, and Nashua could try to get in on some of that snow. You can also see those snow squalls back towards New York State, near Ithaca, back down into the Scranton area, Pennsylvania, seeing some snow out of this. So definitely a snowy start to your Tuesday out there for some folks. Now, this isn't going to make it all the way to the I-95 likely, but we'll see some flakes from Boston to Philadelphia potentially this afternoon as these kind of snow squalls lose some of that forcing and lose some of that precipitation with them. But behind it, a new area to watch. Check this out, the start of another storm system. It's funny, we've really quieted, I don't know, gotten more quiet in the southeast. Sorry, I can't talk. But it's very different up into the Midwest and into the Northeast. You can still see all this snow kind of in this region. So some of us, it's a lot nicer out there. We're going to start to get some spring fever here soon. Other parts of the country, winter is still in full force. And that's one of the interesting parts about living in such a large country, is you have different kinds of weather all over it. And we're definitely seeing that right now. But this up here is our next clipper system that will also work through the Northeast over the next day or two, already bringing snow up through International Falls, Thunder Bay, Canada, into the UP of Michigan this afternoon, and then by tomorrow into the Northeast. Now, outside of that, seeing some of that rain beginning down near Texas and Louisiana, kind of a precursor to the main show that is coming on down the road. Now, let's talk about it a little more in depth here. This is our upper level vorticity map. We show this all the time on the channel. I think it's a wonderful tool to use really any time of the year, but especially during the winter when we have these bigger synoptic mid-latitude cyclones, and it's going to be a useful tool. So As of right now, what we're seeing out there, I mean, every piece of energy I just talked about lines up perfectly onto this map. So that's why I love it. Here's that big low pressure into California. Here's our trough in the Northeast bringing some snow and cold air, I will add. And then here's our more strung out piece of energy bringing a clipper up through portions of Canada into the northern Great Lakes and eventually through the Northeast. So that's why this map is so terrific. It's great to use. And you can kind of see how that is going to unfold over the next little bit. We're going to talk about the clipper first and kind of what's left of this northeast snow. So let's time it out for you. Again, watching this piece of energy, that's what's going to produce the next wintry weather. That continues to move south and east throughout the day today. This is this afternoon into overnight, and this is early tomorrow morning. You can see all of that energy working on through, and will continue to swing on through during the day Wednesday, bringing some of that snowy weather and another shot of cold air. I'm telling you, you folks in the Northeast cannot catch a break here whenever it comes to these freezing temperatures. Now let's take a look at this model. This is brand new, hot off the press. I mean, literally just ran our high resolution rapid refresh model and time it out for you. So you can see what's left of these snow squalls currently, really dying out though. And honestly, I think they're probably holding on a little bit better than the models are projecting. So that's good news if you want to see some snow closer to the I-95, and let me know if you do. But either way, should begin to at least weaken, even if they don't completely kind of fizzle out by this afternoon. But what's going to really just begin this afternoon is our next storm, that clipper up into Michigan. You can see the northern thumb into the upper peninsula, getting a nice little band of snow. And this is a feisty low pressure, folks, down near 990 millibars. Yeah, this one's going to kick up the wind. It's going to dump some snow pretty quickly, I think, and then eventually working through areas of Ontario, even into portions of Quebec. And then this evening, by the time the sun is going down, beginning to see that snow moving into the Finger Lakes, the Buffalo area, really through much of the state of New York, overnight tonight into western Massachusetts, portions of Vermont, New Hampshire, maybe northern Connecticut and Rhode Island picking up on some of the snow. And I think this will be a good little storm that maybe catches some folks off guard in the Boston area. You're going to go to bed tonight, and really not much is going to be happening. But overnight tonight, this storm works through the entire state of New Hampshire, Vermont, into the Boston area, like I mentioned. Even getting into a good bit of Maine there overnight tonight. And then on the backside, look at this, a little bit of lake effect. The lakes are not fully frozen over yet, so we're still getting some of that back end kind of snow squally weather through Erie, Buffalo, seeing some lake effect back into the UP and into the northern thumb of Michigan. So the storm's really going to bring a good amount of snow to a lot of folks. This is into early tomorrow morning, still snowing good into Maine. And then you can see those snow squalls kind of working in on the backside of the storm. And by the time we get to tomorrow afternoon, could actually translate to a little bit of rain or maybe some graupel and sleet even mixing into these showers into the Cape down through portions of Connecticut and Rhode Island, and then likely just pure snow further inland. So a feisty little storm system here. It's robust but small, also quick hitting, which is good news. So this won't last forever. But on the backside, as we get into Wednesday evening, check out this lake effect train. You've got a very strong fetch, as we say, just meaning the wind blowing over a lot of the different Great Lakes here, and that could produce some good snow into Ontario, the eastern upper peninsula, the northern thumb, and then potentially back down into the Finger Lakes and towards the state of Pennsylvania by Wednesday afternoon and evening. And then that lake effect machine dies down a little bit by Thursday, and we kind of clear out a little bit, but you see our next storm getting going off towards the southern plains. Now, how much snow are we talking? That's kind of the million-dollar question. Well, in the Midwest, not a lot unless you're in northern Michigan, specifically the Upper Peninsula, and I know I keep saying it, but the northern thumb. This area right in here, going to get the most of it. I think the eastern UP could get half a foot out of this. This would be the clipper plus the lake effect behind it, so kind of everything combined. Some good totals there. Same thing for the northern thumb there, the usual jackpot areas, if you will, likely to get some good snow, but even around there, into the western UP and areas kind of around that bullseye in northern Michigan could get a good 1 to 3, 3 to 5 inch event out of this. And would be pretty noticeable. Now, the Northeast, an area that's going to get it really good as well, the Tug Hill, it just won't stop snowing. You're going to get another foot and a half out of this. Areas just south of Watertown there. And then you get into the mountains of Vermont and New Hampshire. Some topography combined with this storm, you're going to get some high-end totals too. We're talking half a foot to a foot showing up on the blend of models here. I think that's a pretty fair bet. Areas like Boston, I think around 1 to 2 inches. If you're north of the city a bit, it could be more 2 to 3 inches out out of this storm, and then areas down here into, kind of outside of the mountains even of New Hampshire and the down east areas of Maine, a good 3 to 5 inch event, maybe 2 to 4, that ballpark though. So not a blockbuster storm, but it's going to be quick hitting and potent. So it's not going to snow a lot. It's really just going to snow during the overnight and into the early morning of tomorrow, but that's going to be more than enough for you to kind of feel it and see it on the ground as well with those totals. And then some of that back end northwest flow going to add some totals here into the Alleghenies, a couple of inches there into those higher elevations. So definitely a nice quick hitting a little snowstorm that you folks should be able to get out and enjoy. All right, so that gets us set up for Wednesday. That's kind of all the near-term snow. Let's talk about some near-term severe weather. Like I said, we're going to really do it all here, and it's all going to be thanks to this big bowling ball low pressure, as we call it. And you're wondering, well, why do we call it a bowling ball? Well, I mean, just look at it. It basically looks like a bowling ball here, parked right over the four corners. Now, what this is doing is creating a tremendous amount of lift over Texas, Oklahoma, and kind of the Louisiana and Arkansas area. So with a normal trough, for example, up here, you can see this trough, we get lift out ahead of it, but whenever you get a trough like this, it's not even as much a trough and it's just a pure circle or a bowling ball, if you will, this creates even more lift on the divergent side. So that's why we're concerned about severe weather. The number one mechanism for severe weather that you need is some sort of lift to get things going. And I just had my first day of mesoscale meteorology yesterday, which seems like it'll be a great class. And that's kind of what we talked about. Is step one, you need something to get, the storms going. They don't just fire on their own usually. You need some sort of lifting mechanism, and that's exactly what this is going to be. And because of that, we're going to run severe weather chances starting as early as tomorrow. A marginal risk up for Dallas, Fort Worth, back down towards Waco, Austin, San Angelo. Not a huge threat tomorrow. Again, just a level 1 out of 5, but noticeable enough that we will need to kind of watch out for it. And then we get to Thursday, and it's a bigger threat, folks. A slight risk from Alexandria back down towards Beaumont, just kind of north into the Houston area there, and kind of just much of central Louisiana, even getting into the Natchez area of Mississippi, up towards the I-10 corridor. We'll even include Shreveport and Vicksburg because you're right on the edge, so might as well. And then Dallas, Little Rock, Pine Bluff, Jackson, Mississippi, Baton Rouge, back down towards Sugar Land and Austin in that marginal risk. So a level 1 and a level 2 out of 5 risk tomorrow. Let's take a look. Do we have anything for our day 4? Looks like no, and this is the first time I'm checking. And then same thing for day 5. Day 6, and we should be good from there. So a couple days of severe weather, though, starting tomorrow into Thursday, all really due to just this lift that is going to be on the way. So let's take a look at a model, and I'll be the first to admit this is my first time analyzing this model with you as well. It was running while I was talking beforehand, so let's see what it's got. This is starting tomorrow morning on Thursday. Or actually, let me get this going. This is this afternoon. No, my bad. This is tomorrow morning on Wednesday. I definitely know what day of the week it is. So here we go. Wednesday morning time, right above my head. You see it right there. It says 9 a.m. January 29th, plus 26 hours. That just means this is 26 hours from the initialization of this model. All right, so you see some light rain beginning here through the Red River Valley, back down towards East Texas for your Wednesday. Remember, this is the marginal risk day, so this would be the lighter of the 2 days. And we get into the afternoon. It's really the evening that those storms begin to fire. Here we go, about 10 p.m. You'll notice some of these storms getting going from the Red River Valley back down, probably I'd say west of the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And this is why it's just a level 1 out of 5, not a huge looking threat here. In fact, this looks like more of maybe a hail and wind threat. An isolated tornado could also be possible, but you kind of watch that there. And then it's the overnight. This really kind of progresses into more of an MCS, as we say, a mesoscale convective system. With maybe a little bit of an embedded squall line. This is by Thursday morning. So this tells me this is probably going to have a couple, at least a chance for an embedded tornado or two in that squall line. Likely just heavy rain, maybe some hail and wind up here in this northern component where you just see that blob there into Oklahoma, kind of from the OKC area back down towards eastern Oklahoma. So definitely a nice little complex of storms. Now that doesn't quite get us into Thursday. Let's switch to a new model and see if we can go all the way out into Thursday and see what Thursday may look like. Remember, Thursday was the bigger of the 2 days, and we'll kind of skip this all the way ahead. This is the NAM model. showing that overnight Wednesday threat, pretty similar to the HER. And then this gets us into Thursday morning. So I think Thursday is going to be one of those days where we're waking up and we're dealing with the leftovers from Wednesday night. Again, a classic MCS, mesoscale convective system, but everything out ahead of it here, from Little Rock down towards Shreveport, back down towards the Houston area. We're still in that warm sector out ahead of the main complex of storms, and that's going to lead to the potential for some stronger storms by Thursday afternoon. You get this going. This is as far out as the model goes. This is 18Z Thursday, but you can kind of see what would be setting up shop is that warm sector, and that's where we'd have to watch for supercellular development ahead of the line, and then that line to maybe reinvigorate itself a little bit as it runs into more afternoon heating and instability. Now, the thing with severe weather, I'll tell you, I know we get a lot of flack as meteorologists for our, kind of busted forecasts sometimes on winter weather. I would argue severe weather is just as difficult. The big difference is the roadways aren't impacted as much by, a messed up forecast, things like that. So 3 days away in severe weather can be just as much of an eternity as winter weather. So we'll watch to see if this trends up or down, but you kind of see the general setup beginning here for that severe weather potential. Now, let's go ahead and move the storm further ahead into time. That'll be the strong storm aspect of it, but there will be a wintry side as well. This is Thursday afternoon. At this point, you can see our big low pressure system beginning to kind of move out of the four corners here towards the Ohio Valley. And that's exactly what's going to happen. By the time we get into overnight Thursday, this is into Friday morning and afternoon. Here's our upper level piece of energy, the center of it. Our surface low pressure probably going to be somewhere in here. It may become kind of stacked here or occluded. Either way, the storm's going to be in this vicinity, and then it's going to ride the Ohio River Valley, ride the Mason-Dixon line, and kind of get on out to sea here by Friday into Saturday. And you can see all of that energy working out of here. Now, it's actually kind of similar to our southern winter storm we had a couple days ago, or I guess a week ago now in the Carolinas. We've got another piece of energy to the north, and what's going to happen, folks, is our northern stream energy is going to move down and kind of compress on our storm. It's going to create a fine line to the north on where we see precipitation or no precipitation, and you can see that here on the models. The other question mark will be, how much cold air do we have hanging around? Will it be a lot? Will it be a little? Well, this is the GFS model. Let's time it out. All rain for the Ohio Valley. All rain, really, unfortunately, I think for my friends back into Iowa and Nebraska, it looked once upon a time like a snowstorm for you. Not so much now, but once we get into here Friday afternoon, we still got enough cold air left over up into New England, into portions of kind of Wisconsin, back towards Michigan, maybe the Chicago area. I might be, pulling it a little bit further south, might be grasping at straws there, but either way, you get the point. A band of snow on the north side of this. I think all rain for the I-95. Could start as snow maybe for a place like Boston, but this will really be more of a rain event for the Carolinas, Georgia, all the way up through Virginia, the Delmarva, up through the I-95. That snow chance going to be highest into Michigan, Wisconsin, and then through the northern northeast into New England, Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, upstate New York, areas like that. Look at the backside here. This is a nice little area of snow. This could produce a good little snowstorm. This would be Friday afternoon, Friday evening, overnight, and then it's out of here by Saturday. That's the GFS, the European model. Pretty similar, a little bit further north, but here we go Friday evening. Check out that band of snow from Maine back into northern Vermont, New Hampshire, upstate New York, even down into the Erie and Buffalo area, trying to get in on that snowy action, and then all rain for the I-95. Looked like snow maybe for the I-95 a couple days ago. Been trending a lot closer towards rain as the storm is trending north, which really just something that happens so often. So not ever a bad idea to just assume 5 days out the storm will get further north than maybe the models project. So how much snow are we talking? Who's going to see the snow? Well, let's start out west first. I didn't talk about it a lot here because I don't really think I have many viewers out here, but if you're watching the Four Corners, specifically New Mexico, Colorado, you're going to get a pretty good little winter storm out of this, all things considered, including, I think, the Denver area. This is total snowfall within a 24-hour period on our European ensembles. Good couple inches out here. Then the signal kind of dries out a little bit, dies out. A small chance for some snow maybe into areas north of Kansas City through Iowa, this kind of swath here. I would say this is relatively unlikely, but possible in that region. We'll see. Maybe you can luck out and get some snow, but then the snow chances really increase into the northeast, specifically Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, and upstate New York, where we've got a mean of about 2 to 4 inches. I think areas will get more than that out of this. I think some areas will get a little less than that, but if you're in the higher terrains of Vermont, upstate New York through the Adirondacks, back down or back up into New Hampshire and Maine, I like this storm for you. I think somebody in those higher elevations could get half a foot to a foot out of it. And we'll kind of just continue to monitor the trends there. And then you can see our next sneaky storm on the way after that. Now, the GFS ensemble, same storm, same time. Here we go. Good signal back into Colorado. Kind of dries out again into Nebraska, Kansas, Iowa, and then kind of bumps back up. And even a bigger area here through central Michigan on the GFS. And then same story up through the Adirondacks, Vermont, New Hampshire, and then into Maine, having a pretty good shot, I think, of seeing notable snow out of this. Now, it's not going to be, the blizzard of 1970, whatever, but will definitely be a winter storm that is worth talking about for sure. All right. Now, that's kind of what we know is coming. Let's talk about the unknown going into February a little bit. And I'll tell you, the forecast gets tricky for the month of February. And we're seeing all sorts of flip-flopping in the models, and I think that'll continue for a while. And I'll be honest, I don't think we're going to know exactly who's going to get the rough weather in February, probably till we get to February. However, I think we've got an idea of what general pattern is going to set up and what kind of storm systems are going to form. I think the biggest question is, where are those storm systems going to form? So let's talk about it a little bit. This is Friday afternoon, our 500 millibar height anomaly map. And again, time above my head so you can see the date and all there from our European ensembles. And what you're seeing here is what we just talked about. Here's our storm system that's going to kind of cross through the Ohio Valley, bring that northeast snow, that southern plains severe weather. After that, then I think we're going to get another bit of a storm system. You see kind of behind our storm, we get another area of blue into the northeast. That's another block of cold air. But a big area of red into the central part of the country. This is going to be the start of spring fever going into the start of February. We're going to definitely get some false hope here. I think Groundhog Day, Punxsutawney, he's going to probably be thinking early spring is already here, let alone on the way. But that's kind of what's going to happen behind it. Now, I am watching the same time frame right around Groundhog Day. This would be the let's see, this is 1 a.m. on February 3rd. There will likely be another storm system here, another clipper system into the northeast, but to the south, folks, if you're south of kind of this black line, I have absolutely spring fever in full force with strong zonal flow crossing the country. It's going to bring that mild Pacific air. It's going to get not humid by any means, but, more muggy, less dry air than what you would normally expect for February. It's going to start to get warmer. Highs maybe in the 60s and even 70s, not out of the question, into the deep south, probably 50s, 60s into the Ohio Valley, and then still this block of cold air up to the north. Like I said, that could produce a little storm system. Feeling good about that, and then you can see that storm system potential into the northeast by about the 4th of February. Now, from here on out, this is when I'd say we're kind of rolling dice at this point. The models here or at least this model keeps a big block of cold air. In fact, this is really the polar vortex, just kind of draped across much of eastern Canada, even into the northeast. But down south, here's that big ridge. Again, spring fever I keep talking about. I really think we're going to get it. And then you see some troughing out here over the PNW and out towards western Canada. Now, we'll keep on moving it ahead. Again, those warmer temperatures by about the 6th, the 7th. We're talking not this weekend, but next weekend. That's when I think we could get the peak of this warmth in the east. Check out all of that red or orange, whatever color you want to call it, in the east here, and then troughing showing back up in the west. And that, I think, will be the key, is right around here, right around February 7th, 8th, 9th, transitioning into that second week of February. See this troughing beginning out west and beginning to move east? I think that's going to be the next big troublemaker, and the question will be, how far east does it get? Does it kind of park itself here in the central plains? Does it try to get all the way into the east? Does it stay out west? That'll be the question that we need to kind of try to figure out here. And if we take a look at temperatures on this map, this is temperature anomalies. This is for this afternoon. Again, cold in the northeast, pretty warm elsewhere, or at least warmer than it has been. We get a second shot of Arctic air this weekend, or this week in the northeast. It's going to stay cold up there. We're warming up in the south and the plains. That's going to help produce that severe weather. Spring fever into the Carolinas, Florida, Georgia, really much of the southern tier by this weekend. This is Friday afternoon. By the way, time right over here. You see Friday, 2025, 0301. That's your date, okay? And that's your that's your date. And then the 18Z, ignore that. I'll try to communicate that. But that's basically afternoon time for most of us in the east at least. But that warm air hangs on for a while, folks. Gets through next week. Maybe another shot of that chilly air with that weekend clipper potential into early next week, clipper potential into the northeast. Like I said, you folks up there just cannot catch a break. Everyone else, though, enjoying the spring fever. And then we get towards that second week of February. This is even a little bit earlier than the last model showed, but you can kind of see that cold air oozing southbound. And the question will be, how far south does it get? The GFS here really kind of punches it south pretty quickly. And by the 4th, the 5th, the 6th, we're already getting back to below average temperatures. And then that warm air, that cold air kind of fight it out for a while there in the early to middle part of February. But I think that sets up a good point here. I'll stop the map right around here. I think this picture that you're seeing is going to be a pretty common look for, we'll say, the early half of February. We're going to be battling it out here between air masses. You can see all this cold up to the north and all this warm into the south. And what that tells me is likely to happen is we're going to get an active storm track between them. So the question will be, though, where is that? I know right here you're thinking, all right, well, it's right where you drew it. Yeah, in this setup, that's where the storm track would be. But this cold air is a little bit further south. The storm track goes a little bit further south. The cold air is a little more bottled up. The storm track kind of gets bottled up with it. And that's what we're going to need to figure out here as we get into February. But you can see the general idea here. And like I said back on this map, kind of watch where I have this storm track drawn. You see that? That would favor snow chances up into the northern plains and maybe a severe weather chance down into the deep south, at least for the early part of February. Now, the middle and second part of February, anybody's guess at this point. But you can kind of even see that in the ensembles. This is, again, that snow signal, if you will. And we'll back it up. Here is the weekend storm we just talked about, the Friday, Saturday storm. After that, another storm potential, clipper system by Sunday, Monday, into the northeast, into eastern Canada, the Great Lakes. And then after that, I think we calm down for a little bit. The first couple days of February, or I guess really not really the first couple. The first couple would be that clipper system, but the first true week of February, that Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, that Groundhog Day time frame, kind of calms down a little bit. And you see that it stays that way for a while, but then we get towards the 6th, the 7th, the 8th, that next weekend. We could be dealing with spring fever down into the south, like I talked about, but then that storm track amplifies as cold air and warm air kind of clash a little bit, and you can see some of that snow to the north. So I think that's the next big time frame to watch for a major storm system that impacts more people, would be right around the 5th through the 7th or 8th of February. And will be very interesting to see how that sets up here on the models. But with that said, I'll go ahead and remind you again, if you haven't already and you enjoyed the video, like it, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell for the latest notifications. Alrighty, folks, y'all have a great one. Stay safe, stay warm, and I'll see you all next time.